Hello friends, it's Jessica from Three Rivers Homestead. I'm bringing you another week full of all of the productive projects that we were doing here on the homestead as a family this week. We're going to be doing some canning and other types of preserving, both with blueberries and then some vinegared red onions. I'll be bringing my recipes and processes for preserving those items, and as well as other fun things on the homestead. And then if you stay tuned to the end of this video, I'm going to have a special family announcement that I'm very excited to share with you, so make sure you check that out. You can see that food isn't the only thing that we have to worry about stocking up on to get through the winter. The animals also need food, so we're making sure to get the hayloft in the barn filled with lots of hay for the beef that we grow. We also heat our house solely through wood, and so it's very important that we have enough firewood to get through the winter. We usually like to have about 5 cords of wood on hand, so the whole family is busy throughout the summer. We took down a dead maple tree on our property, and Adam has been busy splitting that, and the kids helped get that all stacked up. But then our friend Mason, who on this day that I'm showing right now, delivered to us 2 new baby calves, and as part of that process of him bringing those down to make it worth his time, we also have him bring some firewood that he split on his farm, as well as the hay that you saw us putting into the barn. So we are very excited to have 2 new calves. They're about 12 weeks old, and they're a cross of Holstein and Angus. That's typically what we get. These are 2 heifers. We prefer to grow heifers, and these 2 will be our beef that we will process in December of 2025. So they will be joining the 2 larger heifers that we have that will be processed in December of this year. So these little calves have never seen grass before. They have been in a barn their entire lives. So there's nothing more exciting to me than getting to watch animals experience somewhat freedom. I mean, it's not complete freedom. They're still behind a fence, but they have sunshine and grass to eat, and it's just so wonderful to watch them frolic around and really enjoy getting to stretch their legs. And then our 2 older heifers were very excited to have some friends. They were communicating through the fence. Everybody is happy. So that was a lot of fun. Now, I've shown you in many past years how when Mason delivers these items to us, I cook a huge feast, and it was no different this year. Part of that feast included blueberry pie and peach pie. And this is actually, we just have a couple jars of blueberry pie filling left from last year down in the cellar. And so that's wonderful though, because it is blueberry preservation season. My good friend helps me get bulk fruit from the Amish every year, and this year I ordered and picked up 100 pounds of blueberries, which was a great deal. It was $3 a pound, which is great for us. And we're busy. Most of those we are freezing. So I just put them into these little plastic containers, and we use those frozen berries for smoothies and muffins and all sorts of things. We also freeze dry some of those blueberries. They make great snacks. We ate probably 20 to 25 pounds of the blueberries fresh, and then there was just a little bit left that I was running out of freezer space, and we also needed to have freezer space for Adam is picking up 3 hogs from the butcher next weekend, and so I wanted to save a little bit of freezer space, and I took 10 pounds of those berries and decided to can them. So I didn't make them into pie filling. I'm going to show you the easiest way to can blueberries, and that is just to raw pack them in your quart jars like this. Then we're going to fill them with water, and what you're left with is a blueberry juice. If you strain out the cooked berries, you have a blueberry juice that you can use for whatever you like to use that for. And then we will use the cooked blueberries in things like muffins or to make blueberry ice cream or sorbet, whatever we want to use that for. This is just literally the easiest project. I think it took me a total of 12 to 15 minutes to get these berries into the canner and on the stove. So it saved me a lot of time and work. I decided not to can as many blueberries into things like jam or pie filling at this moment in time because I'm just busy with other things. So the 70 or so pounds of blueberries that I have in the freezer can eventually be turned into jam at a later date if I want to go ahead and cook those up. So I just filled those quarts with water, and I don't even need a chopstick. I can just kind of shake the jars a little bit to release any trapped air, adjust my headspace, and then we're ready to get our lids on. You guys know every time I'm canning, I mention that I love my 4 jars canning lids. I'm not just saying this because I'm an affiliate with them. They have the best seal rate of any jars or any lids that I have ever used. I've been very disappointed with ball lids over the last few years, but 4 jars lids never fail me. So if you would like to get a discount on some of those lids yourself, check out the discount code that is in the description of this video. We're going to get these into the water bath canner, and they only need to process for 20 minutes. Remember that your processing time doesn't begin until the water in your canner comes to a rolling boil. So you can't just put them in, turn on the stove, and set your timer for 20 minutes. You need to make sure that it's boiling when you start your timer. I like to add a little bit of distilled white vinegar to the pot when I'm water bath canning, and that prevents a mineral film from our hard well water from developing on the outside of those jars. And after 20 minutes, we let the jars cool down a little bit, and I removed them, and they just look gorgeous. I'm ready to put these down in the pantry. Let me give you a little bit of a garden update and what I've been up to out there. Unfortunately, this week we had a lot of rainy weather. I think the hurricane that had happened down south, we kind of got a lot of rain as that storm system kind of moved up into our area. Before the rain hit, I was able to get a little bit of planting done, which is always nice. I had some empty beds from where my garlic was, so I decided to plant some green beans. And then last week on the 4th of July, I was at my parents' house, and they had these forgotten potatoes that had sprouted in the back of their pantry, and they were laughing about them and getting ready to put them in the trash. And I said, wait. I will see if I can salvage these. So I had this area where I had harvested potatoes a few weeks ago in my garden, and I decided to just experiment. I don't have great results planting potatoes this late in the year, or I haven't had great results in the past, but I went ahead and put them in the dirt, covered it with straw, and we're going to see if we can harvest some potatoes this fall from those free seed potatoes. Other than that, the garden, every day I'm going out and getting little harvests like this of cucumbers, blackberries, peppers are really starting to come on, and tomatoes are just beginning. We don't have slicers yet, but we're snacking on cherry tomatoes. Next week, I will be harvesting all of my onions that are in the garden for curing. I planted Patterson onions. They're kind of like a yellow bulb onion. I had these red onions in the house that were starting to I knew they were going to soften here soon if I didn't use them up. And so I figured I was going to try a new recipe that I saw in the Ball Canning book. It's for vinegared red onions. My boys love pickled foods and they love onions, so I'm doing this for them, and I'm just doing a tiny batch of them because I've never had them before and I don't really know how they're going to turn out. So we're just going to do 6 or so little half-pint jars of this, and I will definitely, once we open a jar, let you know how we liked them. But besides getting those onions pulsed in the blender and chopped up, I had this bulb of garlic that I pulled from the garden, and we're just gonna fill the jars with those chopped onions, and then once those are filled, we can add the garlic and kind of distribute it evenly amongst those 6 jars. You're probably wondering how I plan to use these. Well, I think my boys will like these on tacos throughout the winter. I didn't grow any red onions myself in the garden this year, so I'm hoping that these will give that red onion flavor for the boys. My son David loves to make tacos. That's one of his favorite lunches or dinners to make when he's in charge of making a meal, so I think that these will make a nice addition. So we just topped those off with red wine vinegar. I'm just going through to make sure that I release any air bubbles and adjust the headspace, and then I'm going to wipe the rims of those jars to make sure we get a good seal. Now I made sure to use store-bought red wine vinegar, even though I have some homemade stuff, because I just wanted to make sure the acidity is at the appropriate level, and I haven't tested my homemade vinegars. I don't have pH testing strips. These were also water bath canned for just 10 minutes, and they smell amazing. I'm hoping we enjoy them. Just finished up labeling the jars that I was able to can this week and that I showed you in this video. And as promised earlier in the video, we do have some exciting family news to share with you. This will not be a surprise to many of you that already guessed it in the comments months ago, but we haven't just been growing food on the homestead this summer. We have also been growing the newest family member here on Three Rivers Homestead, and they will be joining us, Lord willing, this December. So it has definitely been one of my rougher pregnancies. I have gone through a first trimester 11 times now. I have 8 living children. This will, Lord willing, be number 9, but I also had 2 late first trimester miscarriages at 13 weeks and another one at 11 weeks. And with those miscarriages, I did experience full morning sickness like you would, in any normal pregnancy. So I've done this 11 times now, and I would say this pregnancy ranked as my second worst. Not the worst, but it was up there, probably the second worst. So just a lot of nausea. My energy was extremely depleted, more so than I remember in the last couple pregnancies. And so I did have my midwife run several tests just to make sure everything was okay and all of my nutrient levels were within the normal range. I'm not anemic, all of the typical answers for why someone would be so extremely fatigued, none of those were a factor. I think it's just age. I am 43. And busyness of life. Things have changed since my last baby that I had in 2022, Hannah. A lot has changed in our lives. I have older teenagers now, and we are in a lot of activities that pull us outside of the home, and it's just a level of busyness that we were still getting used to before I got pregnant. And so it has taken, basically my point in sharing all of this is it took all of my energy just to maintain our normal activities and to get the garden planted and to do just meals and laundry and dishes. All of the basics were taking everything I had. So filming what I was doing on top of what I was doing was just another level of busyness that I couldn't handle during that first trimester. And thankfully I'm now having some relief. I have relief from the nausea for a couple weeks now. I've been feeling great that way. I'm slowly regaining a bit of energy and I'm about in the middle of the second trimester, so I'm really getting that energy, and I'm going to need it to get through the month of August. So it really is good timing. If I were going to plan a pregnancy, having a baby in December for me is really ideal. I was able to get my garden planted before I started feeling really terrible, but then my garden there was probably 4 weeks where I barely set foot in the garden and weeded, and things just really got out of hand. And so now I am working to dig us out of that hole. But I was able to get a garden planted, and I'm very grateful for that. And now my energy is coming back in time to harvest what we are able to harvest from my weedy garden and to start preserving. And August is one of my busier months of the year, so I'm going to be very grateful for the energy. And I'll be sharing a video with you in the coming weeks about August and the preservation challenge, the Every Bit Counts challenge that we do every year. We will be doing it again this year. Other than that, my goal right now is just to preserve food, enjoy these last weeks before we start back at school. That is another blessing I'm very grateful for. This is our very first year we ever took off of homeschool and had, we used a traditional academic calendar this year to give us a summer like you would in a traditional school setting. We'd never done that before. We had always schooled year round and just taken breaks as needed. And if there were ever a year where I needed a summer break from school, this was it. So I'm extremely grateful for it. I'm not sure we'll do it again next year because there are some downsides to taking that summer break. Like, I think I prefer the structure of our days when we're doing schoolwork, and maybe some of the kids benefit from having that structure, especially older children. But this year it was definitely a blessing. So I'm going to enjoy not being a homeschool mom for the next, maybe 4 to 6 weeks before we start back up again. And so, yeah, I am happy to share that news with you guys. I didn't mean to keep it a secret. I was just kind of protecting my energy and wasn't really in the mood to go through another public miscarriage. I've had 4 miscarriages in my life. I actually had 3 miscarriages before I had my last baby, Hannah. So when I found out I was pregnant with this baby, that was sort of my expectation. I was very anxious and just waiting for what I felt like was inevitable loss. And so I was just kind of protecting my energy and trying to keep my stress low and not really wanting to share it publicly until I was at a place where I felt safe in doing that and I had the energy, just to handle doing that. So you guys are pretty perceptive. You guys noticed my growing belly many videos ago, and I was getting comments of that. Even little things like when I shared one of my favorite snacks, which is cucumbers and mayonnaise on a rice cake. Some of you remembered that was my craving when I was pregnant with Hannah and kind of assumed I was pregnant because I was eating that again. Just lots of guessing going on out there. So I'm kind of happy that the cat's out of the bag. You guys don't have to guess anymore and worry about what is wrong with me and my energy and why I'm skipping so many videos. So that's it. Very exciting news. The family's very excited. The children are just over the moon. Everybody's pulling for a girl. They want Hannah to have a little sister, but we will just be grateful for a healthy baby, Lord willing, this December. And it's just great news all around. So thank you for being patient with me throughout the last few months as I've had to miss videos here and there. And maybe you've noticed even in the videos that I maybe wasn't as energetic and putting as much effort into those videos as maybe I had in the past. And that was just what I needed to do to survive the last couple of months. But I'm feeling great and ready to tackle the next videos, which are pretty much all going to be about food preservation. So I will be back next week with a typical weekly video, but I would also like to include information about preparing for the Food Preservation Challenge, which is the Every Bit Counts Challenge that we do every August here on YouTube and on Instagram. So I hope you guys will join me in that. Until then, I hope you have a wonderful week. God bless you, friends. We'll see you next week. Bye.